Hey everyone, James Marin here, and in this video I wanted to do a quick little in-depth look at a commercial that I recently operated on. The goal of the video is to hopefully provide you with some information that will be helpful to you in the future if you do a similar style fitness commercial yourself. I'm also going to talk about the camera build and why certain choices were made, and also discuss the operating style and try to give you some tips there as well. But first, let me show you a quick little segment of the commercial so you get an idea of what it looks like. And if you want to see the whole thing, I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out.
It knows it's pushed too far.
I still have the workout journals that I kept every workout in. What I realized with Carbon is it's doing that, but in a digital way, keeping you not only on track, but again, helping you set that new standard for yourself every workout.
Okay, so you can see that it's a fairly dynamic, fairly fast-paced commercial. And before we get into that, and before we get into the operating and that sort of discussion, let me just talk about the location and the camera build first. This is the location where we shot the commercial at Popsicle Studios in LA, or Popsicle LA as they're called on Instagram. And as you can see, they shoot a lot of these sort of sleek, futuristic looking pieces at this location, mainly because of the ceiling. The ceiling just looks pretty cool. It changes colors, it does all sorts of stuff, and it's basically like a white cyc. You can do whatever you want inside a big space, and that's mainly what it is. It's also rumored that this is where they shot this scene for The Dark Knight, which is the Batcave or the garage or whatever you want to call it. And it's also been used pretty often that it's become meme worthy, as you can see from this meme right here. Anyways, that's the location. Not much more to say but what I've already said. Okay, so here is our impeccable camera build, courtesy of the amazing First AC Joshua Cote, who built this thing. And as you can see, it's a Sony Venice paired with an Angenieux easy zoom. It's a 22 to 60 millimeter. And the reasoning behind the choice of the Sony Venice and the easy zoom was to take advantage of the full frame capabilities of the camera, and that particular lens model could cover a full frame sensor. It's also a fairly sharp and modern looking lens, which also fit the commercial on a creative level, seeing how the commercial itself is sort of sleek and modern. Also, you can see that we have 3 different lens motors for focus, iris, and zoom, and that's because Mike Reyes, the DP of the shoot, wanted to have control over the zoom lens in real time as we're rolling and I'm sort of moving around. Now, here you can see the Micro Force Zoom controller, which is just a fancy name for the controller for the zoom, and it's made by the same manufacturer as the lens motors. And in my opinion, it's a really neat tool because you could control the zoom wirelessly. So Mike the DP had this little guy and would zoom in and out to add another layer of dynamicness, for lack of a better word, on top of an already, fast moving camera. But to give you a better sense of what that looks like, let me go ahead and show you a clip. Okay, so I slowed it down a little bit so you can see the effect a little better. And as you can see, when you're zooming in and the camera is also pushing in, it feels much more exaggerated and almost faster because the background is compressing as the camera is also physically getting closer. And in this shot, you can see how it exaggerates lens distortion because you're seeing it go from a wide angle lens to a tighter lens in real time. And here's one more example of the camera pushing in while we're also zooming in, which makes it feel a whole lot faster because of the movement and the compression. Okay, so now let's get into the operating and the operating style. As you can see, the commercial is dynamic and the edit is fast paced to sort of give it an amped up vibe. So as the Steadicam operator, you're there to provide consistent pieces so they can use it in the edit in whatever combination that they see fit. The usage of Steadicam in the context of a fitness video like this is definitely to use it as a tool to always keep the camera moving at all times. Expect to do lots of fast push-ins and a lot of pulling back and a lot of these sort of rotating, arcing moves to create parallax. And parallax is when you have an object that appears to be static or is static, but the background behind it is moving. So in order to achieve that, it's a subject that's static and the camera sort of rotates around it. So that's why there's a lot of arcing and moves like that, because it makes it feel more dynamic in the context of a fitness video like this. A lot of times a director or a DP will ask you to rotate around or to arc or to do semicircles. It's all sort of interchangeable language. I prefer to use the verbiage of arcing because I think it visually represents the move well, but it's all sort of the same thing. And definitely with a piece like this, be prepared to do the majority of the operating. It's just sort of the nature of the piece. The creative sort of expects that the camera is going to be moving all the time. And also, just because you're grabbing a bunch of pieces for the editor to chop up doesn't mean that you throw rehearsals and marks out the window. I think it's still really, really crucial that you rehearse each move and that you at least grab your first and your last frame. And that's not just for you, but also for the first AC and for you, so you both know where you're starting and where you're ending, and then everything in between is sort of your domain. It did happen to me a couple times where I was describing the move and described like what we want to see, and we kind of just went for it, sort of just winged it. But I quickly discovered that I obviously didn't grab my first and last frame, so when I land on my 2, I'm just like, why does this frame suck so much? And it's just because, you know, you're making this decision to land on something that's supposed to be and is expected to be a really beautiful frame, and you're seeing it for the first time yourself. So no matter what, at least take the 10 to 30 seconds to line up a first and last frame, because it's going to make a world of difference. You're going to be far more efficient and do less takes because you're not just winging it and you're not just landing on sloppy frames that they could potentially put into the edit, and then it makes your work look sort of bad. Alright, well that's it for today's video. I hope that you found it helpful or entertaining, and if you did, please consider giving it a like and subscribing, as it would help me out a ton. Also, if you have any questions or if you're curious about something that I may have left out in this video, feel free to leave a comment below, and then I could include that sort of information, or at least be cognizant of it in future videos. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video, and I hope you have a great day.